What's up, Wollywogs? Lord Daimyo here, and it's been about a month since Candy Flurry has been cancelled. And what do I think about the ending? Let's talk about it. So, Candy Flurry ended about a month ago, and it did end short, as we all know. And it felt like a lot of things, a lot of plot and character development was obviously cut short, and we didn't get the full, feel for everything and the full explanation for everything. But what do I think about how it ended? Well, in the chapter review for the last chapter, I touched up on it a bit, but let's touch upon it some more. So, I'm overall okay with how it ended. It feels like, obviously, was super rushed, and I mean, but it seems like the mangaka kind of knew this would happen, so I think that's why he set it up, with Amato showing up when he did. Because, yeah, that fight between Amato and Tsurugi was 2 or 3 chapters. And, yeah, it makes sense. We got introduced to all the villains really quick. And, yeah. So, it's kind of like they knew it was going to happen. Because they probably did. And the ending was rushed. But it made sense for the rushed ending. And while we did get a couple things barely touched upon, it's kind of alright. I think the ending, for what it was pretty good. Was it the ending that I wanted? No. And let's talk about that a bit. So, what I kept saying while I was reading these chapters each week was I was kind of imagining the story going along where Tsurugi would join the Rusette and would be like partners with Misaki. And then we got introduced to Irie, and she joined the group. So then I thought, oh, well, it's going to be the three of them doing like Rusette missions, slowly but surely hunting down clues and defeating villains to get closer to Amato and the rest of the Sweet Villain League. And then we got introduced to Umino, which is like the head of the Rusette's son during the Rusette exam with Tsurugi. So then I thought, okay, great. It's going to be a 4-person group. The 4 of them are going to be cool and friends and do adventures and missions. And that's really what I thought the manga was going to be. And maybe that's what it was intended to be or could be. But we're not sure. That's how I always imagined it was. You wouldn't know. It'd be like small stories, couple chapters each of them getting a mission to stop a villain or to hunt down a villain, and they do, and them trying to get more information about Amato, and we slowly start gaining the pieces of like Cindy Toy Toy and Amato's goals and where Amato is and the rest of his group with Skullcorn and everything. So that's what I was thinking it would be like. And, maybe we'd have major arcs where Skullcorn would come back with like the gum user or whatever, and there'd be big fights with them, and they'd either be defeated and captured or barely escape. But that's kind of what I thought the whole story was going to be. And that's kind of, what I was hoping for. So, one other thing that I saw about when Candy Flurry got canceled was a lot of people were saying that it would have been better if there were candy monsters, which I had never thought of that, but the idea kind of intrigues me. So, let's just go through it. If there were candy monsters instead of villains, or including villains, do you think the series would have been better for it? I don't. I think most people just like the idea of candy monsters because of the first chapter with the donut user, and he like started getting all big because he was just covering himself with donuts, and, bigger donuts. So, I mean, you'd still have Amato, and you'd still have these villains showing up, but you would just throw monsters in there. So the idea sounds cool, but I think in theory, like in practice, if you actually wrote the series with monsters, it wouldn't be. I don't think it'd be good. Cause, yeah, I mean, just imagine like My Hero with monsters, or like One Piece with monsters, or Dragon Ball with monsters, or what. I mean, it doesn't really work because it's always been person versus person with powers. So throwing in monsters kind of makes things weird, I would think. But another thing I had thought of was perhaps what if like the whole series was just in the reset? I mean, I know we got bits of it and I was expecting that we would get more. But what if Tsurugi just started off as being an agent and it was just all the reset? But I thought it was great as it was, and if we would have had like a focus on the reset, then I felt it would have just been like cops versus villains, and like heroes versus villains. It would seem sort of My Hero-y and just not really interesting. I liked the aspect that Tsurugi was a kid in school first and foremost. So, but overall, I think the ending was good for what it was. I told you what I wished it would have been, with them doing reset missions and then having chapters of them, downtime or at school or whatever, having fun. I mean, every chapter was so funny. It was all a comedy. So having those chapters, kind of like the one where Tsurugi and Misaki climbed that tree to help EDA's pig or dog or whatever, that would have been great for a chapter of them just hanging out at school. And then we could have had full action chapters or detective chapters of them as reset agents stopping villains and trying to hunt down Amato. Which, I mean, I'd like to hear the mangaka. Hopefully we'll get to hear what he originally wanted it to be, but it always seemed like it would be like that, and I was really hoping it would be something like that. But for what we got, it was fine. But let me know what you think in the comments down below, and you can follow me on Twitter if you want. I follow everyone back. Links in the description down below. But thank you very much for watching, and have a fantastic day.